All right, making sure everything's working. Good morning to you. Mark Sudduth here, Hurricane Track. It's Saturday. It's the 5th of October, and we're dealing with another hurricane threat for Florida, it looks like midweek. So I figured we got to talk about this. Probably going to catch a lot of people by surprise, especially today and tomorrow, because this thing is starting to come together rather quickly. I'm going to do a little bit of just chit chat here at the beginning to allow people to join in to the YouTube feed, and then we'll look over everything from the analysis perspective. So we just got done with Helene, and obviously that took a track that went from south to north, basically into the Big Bend. This one, though, is quite unusual the way that it's going to come across the Gulf, having about 1,000 miles to work with very warm water temperatures, a very unusual track, and one that could make landfall almost perpendicular to the coast of Florida. National Hurricane Center already mentioning the possibility of a hurricane in these special messages that they put out just a little while ago. And this is starting to get very serious. And we could be looking at impacts for some really big population centers. And there's more to it, though, than just the potential for a hurricane. We're going to kind of have two rounds of this before all is said and done, and I'll explain that further as we go through this morning's update. And then when I'm finished, I will jump over to the Discord server that we've got, part of our Patreon access for the people that support all of this. And I've had 3 emails today already from people asking me to talk about Patreon again because they are supporters and they want to make sure other people know, especially in Florida, obviously where this could be headed, is headed. So I'll do that too. And so we'll look at our Discord server, see if there's any questions or comments there. Most of our Discord and Patreon folks are also on YouTube, and I'll look at the YouTube chat as well and see what you might have on your mind. All right. So let's see if I can get back to sharing the old screen. We'll go back to the uh, main page here, the title page. I took a nap after getting up at like 6:30. I got up about 30 minutes ago again. So I'm shaking off the barnacles. Yeah. Should do like a cold shower and an ice plunge or something, really get me going. All right. This should do it because yeah, there's all kinds of stuff to talk about. This is very serious. My Twitter feed here, X, Twitter, whatever, filled with, even in the For You part, the algorithm. 92L looks ahead of schedule. There's Eric Blake, a forecaster at the Hurricane Center. Time to take some precautions. Gas and grocery for me today. The trend is not our friend. It's what people are talking about. And this thing looks like it's well on its way to becoming a really, really big problem. Marine heat wave conditions, 2 to 3 degrees Celsius, warmer than average sea surface temperatures. This is not looking good, and we need to face this head on. All right. The map is active. There's 92L. And just really, really quickly here, just to make sure everybody understands, because I like to educate what the heck is a 92L? What does that even mean? It is a way for the National Hurricane Center to designate an area of interest as an area of investigation, and the letters are AL. We just change it to L because we're lazy, I guess. And they use the numbers 90 through 99, and then they rotate. They keep going 90 through 99 over and over, and we just call it 92L. AL for Atlantic. So technically it's AL 92 or something like that. But again, us in the hurricane weather geek world just shorten it to 92L. And it allows for specific things to happen. Floater images get assigned to the area of interest. We can't call everything an area of interest. There's an area of interest. There's an area of interest. You understand? So it's a good way to keep up everything. Then the hurricane models get initiated. The new hurricane analysis and forecast system, the HAFS, the A and B, the HWRF, the HMON. Recon will be tasked. They better, hopefully, they'll get out there quick the men and women of the Air Force Reserve, 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Unit, the NOAA planes, the sail drones, everything starts to get activated when you have a designated area of interest, and we just simply call them 92L or whatever the case may be. All right, so there's that. Just making sure people know. That's part of it. G.I. Joe, right? Knowing is half the battle. So here are our systems 92L, there's Kirk, there's Leslie. We got two hurricanes going, more than likely going to have a third here. Three hurricanes on the map at the same time in October. What in the world? We thought this would be what we would see in late August through September. Instead, it's happening in October. Then we got another one possibly trying to develop out here in the East Atlantic. Maybe not, but the map is active. All right. So here is the Gulf of Mexico from the National Hurricane Center. Links over to the NOAA NESDIS satellite page, and you can clearly see our system down here. Let's get the old telestrator running. I'll use bright yellow, hopefully, to make it pop. There's our center of interest, and our center of circulation is starting to develop right in here, it looks like. And Keesler Air Force Base right up here in Biloxi. Go. Let's get them out there ASAP. I wish that I was in charge of that. I'd be like, people, get on the plane. Go. I know some of those flight meteorologists. They are fantastic. We hang out often at the National Tropical Weather Conference, but I digress. Anyway, we're going to get recon in there soon, hopefully, and we'll know a lot more about this. But here's the deal. This system is not just the biggest problem. We're going to get this training of moisture coming across ahead of time that's going to seed Florida with a lot of rain. And I can show you that on some of the GFS products and whatnot soon. So remember this blob of clouds right here, because now I'm going to show you Mark's favorite analysis tool to see what's up. All right. And that is this right here. This is the vorticity signature. This is the analysis. That is what is underneath that blob of clouds down there. This is the relative vorticity product from the University of Wisconsin. And that tells me you do have the energy down there, the vorticity, the spin in the atmosphere, and it is beginning to focus. If you saw my video even yesterday, this thing will use orange and let's use red. It was stretched out. The vorticity kind of looked like that. Today, it is bundled down in the southwest Gulf of Mexico. And I'm telling you what, once this thing starts to get going, it is going to have a pretty long trek. And I'm just going to widen this out so I don't pinpoint any one area. It's going to have a pretty long trek across the Gulf to really get its act together. And that spells trouble. We have to acknowledge this because we got a lot of people that live over here that could be in harm's way. So let's look at the GFS here from the 6Z run, meaning it was initialized at 6 Zulu time, 2 a.m. Eastern time, where we were all hopefully sleeping and not staying up waiting for the Euro, right? I wasn't. I was sleeping. I really was. I got up at 6:30 though and checked everything. So this is the same part of the atmosphere that this is, 850 millibars. And there's our system, very clearly represented in the model. We run this out. Let's just go out to 24 hours. By 24 hours, the GFS shows this tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning, 2 a.m., that this thing starts to get organized. Another 24 hours, even more so. And then you just keep going and going, and this thing really cranks up. Not good, okay? This is where it is my job to scare you. Yes, you need to be worried about this because this is going to be coming in quickly. People are going to be busy this weekend. I didn't know this was coming. What the heck? And you got a lot of people in the way this time. Instead of the Big Bend, which is sparsely populated, this is going to be coming into a much more populated area, and then it's going to cross a huge population center. So this is the time to be upset and worried, and let that motivate you. All right? Fear should be a big motivator. Absolutely. You got to get your butts in gear and take this seriously. Do the preparation that you need now. All right? And we'll talk about that more in just a minute. But when I come back on and I'm talking to you and not just at you, that is important. This worries me because it's that organized that soon. This is the lower levels of the atmosphere. And at 78 hours, that looks really, really impressive from a meteorological perspective. The upper level winds, it's really interesting how this one's panning out because it is going with the flow. And so any shear that you might have down here kind of gets negated, because everything's moving in the same direction. You're not getting this little jet streak over the top of it. We're not seeing that. So it's an unusual setup. It really is. And then it keeps on coming in and eventually makes landfall in the GFS here, south of Cedar Key, it seems, and north of Tampa, which will, that's 100 and 8 hours out Wednesday afternoon. We cannot take that verbatim. The models will change. We've got our consensus, the TVCN that we look at, and there's just other ways to look at this, but this shows us the threat of a significant hurricane into the Florida Peninsula. And if we zoom in and look at it again from a different perspective, now we're down here where we live. 949 millibars on a global model is upsetting. It is. That is a big problem. Here's the other thing. Remember with Helene, it came up, let's get the track right, something like that. And everything to the right of the track, we'll just paint it in here, from Helene, this is the area that got the storm surge. To the right of the track. Same holds true with this one. By the way, the name will be Milton. And just in case you needed more, like, you got to be kidding me. Milton replaced Michael from 6 years ago, that also was an October beast that made landfall right there. So, how's that for irony for you? Not the dreaded I storm anymore, it's the dreaded M storm. Yuck. Anyway, so this makes landfall at this angle here, and then everything this way is where your surge is going to be. Up here, Cedar Key, if this is verbatim, yeah, you're going to have offshore flow. You're going to blow the water out of Steinhatchee and the Appalachee Bay. But further south, that could be a substantial storm surge. And then we're getting closer and closer with these to the Tampa area. Helene was not that far offshore. This really is concerning. Milton to be here. Wow. We're getting closer and closer with these to affecting Tampa directly. And, we worry about Tampa because of the obvious surge threat. And then it moves across and then out into the Atlantic again. And, it just goes to show you this is going to have problems probably for the Southeast coast. What a disaster. This is just ridiculous. But we got to be ready for it. You see it coming in there. And the GFS does this kind of weird, not weird, but it is kind of coming in north there a little bit. But we'll see. We'll see what it shows later and what the other models show. How about the Euro, the ECMWF? This is also the 6Z. This only goes out to 90 hours, but it is a very similar evolution overall of a strengthening system, not as strong as the GFS is showing. The Euro seems to lack in its intensity often, but the fact that they both show a significantly well-identified system headed toward the vicinity of Florida is telling. And let's just back it up to the 0Z where we do get the full 10 days. The Euro does bring it in, and the Euro comes in south between Tampa and Fort Myers as an example, just to, pinpoint it from a global model perspective. And the Euro gets it in very early Wednesday morning around sunrise. And then out into the Atlantic, the Euro goes with it. What about the hurricane models? Well, yeah, there they are. Forgot. So the HWRF, the Hurricane Weather Research Forecast Model. Again, let me come back on and talk to you for a second. You got your global models, which gives us a nice broad view of global weather. That's why they are called global models. Then the United States has developed these very specific models for hurricanes, tropical cyclones being the generic term. The Hurricane Weather Research Forecast Model been around many years. The HMON, which replaced the GFDL, and then you've got these newer models as part of the Hurricane Forecast Improvement Program, the HFIP. Everything's got an acronym in government, if you haven't noticed already. Part of those models and part of that strategic plan to improve hurricane forecasting are our HAFS models. HAFS, Hurricane Analysis and Forecast System. You have the A and the B, and then they do what the H-Wharf and the H-Mon have been doing, hopefully better. So those are our hurricane specific models. They are made just for these, just for tropical cyclones. Keep that in mind. All right. So let's take a look at the venerable H-Wharf. H-Wharf's been around, like I said, for quite a long time. This is the initial. This is the 6Z run. It develops this into a formidable, powerful hurricane. I mean, look, is it possible that we could drop to 922? Sure. If it develops an inner core soon enough. This shows you the power here of what it can do, that we're going to see a substantial pressure drop, and then the H-Wharf comes in and makes a landfall in Florida, just north of Tampa, in the very late hours of Wednesday into Thursday. Please, not another nighttime landfall. Those details we will figure out later. What I am most curious about is that we go very deep with this into the 920s. The H-Wharf usually overdoes it, but the substantial pressure drop is what catches my attention. It's not level, it's not fluctuating, it's not, like a mishmash. Okay. So that shows a very substantial pressure drop. That's what I take away. The HMON for 92L, very similar. And when you get all of these models agreeing that you see substantial pressure drops, the HMON as well into the 920s briefly, and then the HMON brings it in just north of Tampa as well. And we get a landfall here in the overnight hours, Wednesday into Thursday. Somebody's trying to open my office. Don't do it. Don't come in here now. And then the HAFSA, too many things to keep up with here. Also, very concerning because it too shows what? Substantial pressure drops. That is what I'm looking at here. They're all in the 920s. And then the HAFS does weaken significantly right before landfall. And again, just north of Tampa. And let's just speed this up a little bit. The HAFS B, a very similar evolution as well. Doesn't get it quite as deep, which is good that all four are not just ridiculously intense. So 3 out of the 4 are. But this too has a landfall just north of Tampa. So what do we take away from this? 3 out of the 4 hurricane models do deepen this system significantly, and deepen, that means strengthen. And they all seem to make landfall there just north of the Tampa area. But that's not what we need to be concerned with, yet. These are just showing us the possibilities. All right. So let's go back and look at some other stuff, because this is also extremely important and concerning. Let's start at the initial here, and let's look at the precip, the relative humidity. This will give us an idea of what is going to be coming for Florida ahead of time. See all that green by Monday? This, ladies and gentlemen, is rain. I mean, underneath all this, certainly. That shows me a lot of rain streaming out ahead of this system over Florida. So you're not going to have sunny skies and heat and whatever, and then you see the cirrus outflow from the hurricane coming. No, 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 no. This is going to be a lot like Ian, where you had rain and rain and more rain. That just stinks. I remember that. And then this comes in, with all of its fury, and the rest. And it does try to get some dry air pulled in there. That'll be interesting to see how well does the core get developed and so forth. But rain out ahead of this system affecting all the people around here big time. And we're talking several inches of rain. So that could be a very, very big problem as well. Please keep that in mind. Water temperatures, as this referenced the post earlier from Ben Knoll. Yeah, they are very warm right up against Florida there. 30 Celsius, but they're also abnormally warm, 2 degrees Celsius. And we talk, science is all in metric, of course. So, mid to upper 80s, and that's pretty much the case all across the Gulf here. Anomalously warm, the departures from the average. The typical sea surface temperature maps that I use, they aren't updating. I don't know why. Somebody needs to wake them up. So I got this one from another source. And we don't get the contours like, where it's all outlined with your isotherms. So you got to figure it out based on the legend. But you know what? There's not much to figure out. The water temperatures through this entire region, 29, 30 Celsius, plenty warm, undisturbed for the most part. except for where Helene went through, but even that has recovered. And this is big. This is problematic. So let me jump over to our Discord real quick and see what people might be talking about here. Um, so Karen says not seeing the telestration, but other people say they are, so that's good. No questions. It's probably over on YouTube that people are asking the questions. So let's jump over here. I can't go back too far, or this will take an hour. What do we got? Um, so David People says NHC is calling it a TD now. Advisories at 11 a.m. Eastern. Let's jump over there. You guys on YouTube got the breaking news. There it is. Tropical Depression 14. Wow. Wow. My mind is blown. This is so far ahead of schedule. Not good. But okay, let's rein it in, right? It's not good on one hand, but it is very good on the other. Why? This will get people's attention. This will get people motivated. People start sharing the info, and this will actually get the ball rolling to hopefully save some lives and some property. So, yes, on the one hand, it's not good news because it's ahead of schedule. On the other hand, stuff gets happening. We don't have any of that potential tropical cyclone stuff. This will be TD 14. And in a sense, that is good to see because now people have that much more time to get ready. Glad I looked at the YouTube chat. Yeah? All right. What else do we have? So, any questions? Mostly people commenting back and forth each other. That is great. So let me jump over here. So now that we know this will be TD14, we will go back and share my Zoom screen again. All right. So again, I had a few emails today. We are supported on Patreon. Very important because that helps to fund what we do. You sign up on Patreon. The $10 level is the access to everything, and then there's other levels as well. It just whatever fits your budget. Seriously, that's the beautiful thing about crowdfunding, at least how we got it set up, is you can do whatever fits your budget. And we hope you stick around year round because we do cover other stuff than just hurricanes. But this is good. Helps us to fund what we do, but also communicate with you all directly. And we tie it in, and this is really important. If you sign up, then you use your email address that you signed up with on Patreon, and you input it right here at our old homepage. I mean, we don't do the .com stuff much. It's all scattered social media, Patreon, but the hurricanetrack.com site is still there. It's the insider site that we have put all of our effort into. Anyway, you sign up on Patreon. That's step one. Step two, you put your email address, John Smith at hotmail.com, whatever you used at Patreon. You put it in right there, you log in, and boom, you go here. And this is where the magic is. Yeah, I said preparing for a Florida field mission again. This is where the magic is. This is where we put all of our resources, including the interactive map that was programmed and coded up by our good friend Mr. Will Woodgate, way over here in the UK, which, by the way, could get some impacts from leftover Kirk, parts of France and the UK. Just making mention of it. Yeah, here's our interactive map, and these are our permanent cameras. This is what they look like. Isn't this just the coolest ever? It is. And you guys made it. I didn't make this. I wished it, and I helped design it. But Will Woodgate and others have helped to put all this together. Mike Cornelius, I'm naming names, yes, because these are the people that are behind the project. And when we put up the active cameras, those will show up over here under map layers. So that's how you do it. And then we also have our dashboard of all the different cameras and different ways that you can view them. A remarkable, remarkable thing here, and it is all supported through our Patreon. All right, so that's how you do it. So if you want to get involved, this is how you can help invest in what we're doing, and you get this access to see the project do what nobody else in the world can do to the extent that we do it. And I like that. That's bragging because we can do it. All right. So drop out there, go back to the web page. All right, so there you go. Just seeing if there's any other things I need to address coming out of the chat. And yep, Milton is more ahead of schedule, etc. Milton to be, yeah. Just reading through this. Oh yeah, thank you, Ralph. Ralph knows who Ralph is. Know your Florida evacuation zones. That could be very, very important coming up. Again, this coming in probably to a much more populated area does give me a lot of concern. And then the fact that we're going to have the effects of the rain ahead of time. Yeah, it's just looking really rough. So today is the day. Start it up. It's going to be a depression. Technically it hits the map at 11 a.m. Eastern, and it's time. Everybody's going to have to start getting ready for this. All right. We'll see what the first hurricane forecast is from the National Hurricane Center. We'll get a track line. And again, don't worry about the track line itself. Remember, effects extend away from that line. And we're talking about a pretty big surge for a pretty big area of Florida. Ugh. Anyway, let me get back over to the title card because I got to exit here in a minute and start getting stuff ready. Appreciate you tuning in very, very much. I covered as much as I could here. Again, I like this format because I can just kind of shoot from the hip, and it's like we're all talking in the same room. A really cool thing that social media and YouTube does allow us to do. Get rid of that. So what I'll do is look at the 12Z guidance, and late this afternoon, I will put together another video that I'll post, the usual one, and we'll see what we see at that point. All right. As always, I do appreciate you tuning in. Get back to Zoom so I can try to exit as gracefully as I can. First, we'll kill the video. Bye-bye. I am Mark Sutter. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you later today on the regular old video that I'll post across our social media channels then. Have a great rest of your Saturday. From all of us at Hurricane Track, thanks for watching. I'll see you later this afternoon.